Let's talk about Solana. In this video, we're going to go through several things that are going on with Solana right now, things that have happened in the past, and have a look at the charts as well. I do want to make one thing clear at the beginning of this video, and that is that we are not fudding on Solana. We do like Solana, we have been invested in Solana, and of course we have sold our positions. Now, I actually sold much earlier than Chris. Chris is selling now, and I'm going to go through what's kind of the thought pattern here, what's kind of going on, and why we're kind of reacting to, or at least Chris is reacting to what's going on, and obviously why I got out slightly earlier than Chris did. Now, this isn't FUD. We think the protocol is going to do incredibly well. It's still potentially going to go up to new all-time highs in the future, and all of that kind of good stuff. So we do have to kind of understand those, but for good reasons. We are exiting, or Chris is now exiting. I exited way earlier, and I'll go through what I did, why I did that, etc. So yeah, it's not considered FUD. We're kind of just reanalyzing the market, seeing kind of what's going on, looking at positions and thinking where we want to stay, where we don't want to stay, and all that kind of good stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the interesting things that have been going on. We'll have a look at the charts. We'll go through why I exited out of Solana at $185. And then obviously we'll get into why Chris is exiting out now as well. Right, so let's get into this. If you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. Really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new, go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications. Really do appreciate that. And let's get into it. Okay, guys, so obviously we've got the chart here for Solana. We'll get into this in a moment. The first thing I want to kind of talk about is some of the things that Chris is kind of going through right now in terms of Solana. We've been talking about it for a while, and I think most recently, or recent stuff that's been happening now has kind of triggered Chris to kind of now think, yeah, it's time to get out, right? So obviously, Solana a little while back had an outage. Okay, this is easy to forget, but basically in September, there was a problem. Basically, it had to go offline for 17 hours. Now, I'll link this in the description. If you're not familiar, you can read up exactly what's going on. But this is, an interesting thing that, basically the Solana network was offline for 17 hours. No funds were lost, and, it was returned to full functionality under 24 hours later, right? So, kind of put a spin on it, if you will. But obviously, it's an interesting one. So basically, I'm not even going to read it. I think most people are aware of it. Basically, it was offline. You flick a switch, it's offline, and you can turn it back on again, right? And that's an interesting kind of concept for a smart contract platform, to have the ability to turn it on and off, and, to see this outage and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's important that people are aware of it. If they're not aware of it, there is a link to this in the description below. Obviously, it's been and done. It's gone. It was an incident. It happened, and all that kind of stuff. And we're not going to forget about it. These things have happened. It's important that we remember that they've happened. Now, on to kind of more important things. Is there was a bug, and this is actually a really big and important thing to understand in the space. Okay, specifically, I am talking for Chris. He can't do a video today. He would have been doing this one, but he's not actually available to do this today. So, basically, the Solana bug that did actually put tokens worth $2 billion at risk. And I don't know how many people are aware of this or not aware of it. So we'll go through it, right? A couple of months ago, a bug was detected, okay? And this is done by the security firm in the token lending contract of the Solana program library, the SPL. Now, the bug had put the funds of many protocols at risk. It was detected, so it was actually fixed on the 3rd of December, right? So we know it's been fixed now. Okay, this was by 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗓, which is the auditing company, right? And they actually talk about that in their blog post. Now, the Solana programming library, the SPL, is a collection of on-chain programs targeting the C-level parallel runtime. The C-level is the world's first parallel smart contract runtime. These programs are tested against Solana's implementation of C-level, Solana's runtime, and the deployment to its mainnet. So though 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗓 had actually alerted Solana months before about it, due to its seemingly harmless effect, the bug was not resolved. So what the takeaway here is that the security firm had alerted Solana months before. Okay, it's only just been fixed, and it put $2 billion worth of tokens at risk, and Solana knew about it. And they didn't, and they only just fixed it. So it's important that we understand that, okay? Now, the bug led to a rounding error that produces more tokens than the ones being deposited, okay? So, however, it is worth noting that the bug could not be exploited without an organized attack that targeted the vulnerability directly. Okay, so it's worth understanding that. Now, they also addressed the problem. So, basically, the security firm 𝗕𝗓𝗪, they addressed the problem and explained the following points about the bug, right? So, basically, they've managed to reproduce the bug and create a script that took advantage of it. Okay, so that's a security firm. The bug could have affected several decentralized applications and risked nearly $2.6 billion of total value locked, TVL. Some low-value coins on Solana were not economically viable to steal, but the potential profit could easily have gone up to hundreds of millions. After fixing the bug, all decentralized applications were updated promptly to close the vulnerability. 𝗕𝗓𝗪 emphasized that the most secure code is open sourced, and one of the best ways to write better code is to understand vulnerabilities. Over $2 billion in several tokens were at risk of being basically drained gradually due to the bug. Moreover, if the attack was conducted in a better way, it wouldn't have actually have been noticed. It wouldn't even have triggered an alarm, as they say here. And would have seen a very slow drainage of the annual percentage yield, the APY, in some of the pools, right? So we have to understand that there was a vulnerability, a bug in the code that, was known by Solana but not fixed for months, okay? And this affected over $2.6 billion, right, of total value locked. That, coupled with this, is, okay, things are stacking up not in the favor of Solana, right? And then most recently, I think the tip of the iceberg for Chris is being that Solana was DDoS attacked, right? So a denial of service attack against Solana, right? This attack exploited fundamental design flaws which are considered features by Solana, as it sacrifices decentralization and security for speed. While ignoring these consequences of the trade-off, specifically proof of history and turbine, a consequence of POH is deterministic block creation. There is a good reason why public blockchains before Sol did not take this route. Non-deterministic block creation adds to security and censorship resistance, as you cannot predict who will create the next block. Instead, in Solana, it is possible to predict and therefore attack the next block producers in line. For instance, attacking the next 100 validators in line instead of attacking the entire network. This attack also works regardless of scale, thereby severely reducing Solana's security. Sol security, or Solana security, is not just reduced against DDoS attacks, since this attack can also be combined with a 51% attack. Following an attacker to temporarily gain potential staked control, or basically gaining that 51% control over the network by attacking other large stakeholders. These are all consequences of POH. Combining turbine with POH leads to even more dire consequences. Turbine divides the transaction memory pool into smaller groupings of validators. This means that with POH, you can censor transactions by just attacking the specific validators in that grouping next in line. This is just one aspect of Solana's design that exposes the bad faith of its creation, prioritizing attracting ignorant cryptocurrency investors over good, sustainable blockchain design. There are many examples like this in terms of design, as well as lies and fraud. Buyers beware. Now, obviously, that is from this guy here, Justin, on Twitter, right? It's important that we understand that. Now, obviously, it's not just a random guy kind of talking about it. We also do have Cointelegraph here also going through the attack as well in a bit of detail. So it's important that we understand, what's going on in the background of Solana. Now, obviously, outside of all of this, we do have, lots of influencers who are trying to seriously push Solana. And this could be that they've got friends in very powerful places, billionaires who have invested in Sol, right? They want to see those bags, and they're still vesting right now, right? So until that vesting ends, they're stuck with their Sol tokens, and they want to ride this thing as high as it can go. And it could be possible that they are, in line with some, influencers across Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever, to try to push Solana's price higher. Maybe even some of these investors have, heavily bought into Solana themselves, and they're trying to push that bag even further. But for me, I was never convinced to this. I did see some potential in Solana, and not as early as I would have liked mine. Okay, so I'm going to go through why I got out at $185 and why Chris has got out now. Obviously, we'll go through that in a moment. So here, obviously, if we actually got in at the beginning of the bull run on Solana, 18,000% gains, which is okay. It's pretty much in line with our expectations for the bull run, but also was very much in line with the process, or I guess the gains that we've seen with VeChain, Harmony One, etc. Right, so it's pretty much up there. It's pretty good. Now, I didn't get in at the beginning. Okay, I got in at the modest area just down here during that fourth wave correction. That area when everyone was kind of in a lot of fear. There was lots of discounts up for sale, and this was considered a bear market at the time. This was a good opportunity to buy, so I bought some Solana personally, and I could see, and I did some videos on it saying that we got a 4.236 extension going out there to $185. Okay, and that was my exit. So that's what I did. I sold here. I sold on the way up. I didn't sell all at $185 either. We always like to sell on the way up against these key levels. So I got out quite early, right? And what did I leave on the table? I left 40% on the table because it did actually go up much higher, right? We had the pullback from this area. We bounced and we moved up, right? And I left 40% on the table. I didn't buy back in. I didn't do any double dipping. I was kind of done with Solana. After that, I was out, right? But Chris was still in, okay? And Chris was thinking, yeah, we can ride it a little bit higher yet. We've got more to come. And then obviously, you have the outage, you have the bug issue that's been known about for a long time. Then you have a DDoS attack. This basically has now triggered Chris to want to sell. Now, whether he's actually pulled the trigger, I don't know. I can't speak for him. I don't know when he has potentially pulled out, if he's pulling out already or waiting for the bounce to the upside. As we can see Solana moving up, right? I'm not hating on the project by any stretch of the imagination. There are issues that need to be addressed, right? We need to understand them, and you need to know what you're involved in if you're invested in Solana. And for Chris, he knows what's going on in the background. And from my point of view, I know that we're going to be moving up, right? So whether he has sold now or waiting for the next wave to the upside, I don't know. I can't speak for him. But it is his intention to sell his position on Solana for these good reasons, right? And, for me, I'm already out. Chris, he might want to sell when it gets to the all-time high area. He might want to just get up to $185, sell it there. Who knows? We'll find out in due course. We can ask Chris in Discord, for example. So yeah, for now, obviously, Solana's interesting. I do expect new all-time highs for Solana, as the rest of the crypto space is expecting, to continue a good run next year. But I won't be, getting back involved in Solana. I'm kind of done with it. And these are for the same reasons, right? I'm not happy with, a protocol that's supposed to be decentralized like this. Having the ability to just go offline for 17 hours is not good. To have been notified of a bug and do nothing about it for months is not acceptable in my mind. And, the actual construction and design of Solana is not exactly what you'd necessarily want to think long-term on, okay? So long-term, Solana isn't looking great at this kind of proposition, right? So not something that I want to kind of get involved in again. Instead, I will stick behind protocols that have good, solid understanding and tech behind them, and I'm not just going to chase the next kind of green candle to the upside, okay? So ultimately, I kind of wanted to kind of do this video. Chris wanted to do it, but obviously he's not available today. So hopefully I've done it justice as to what he wanted this video to be. I don't want it to be FUD. I want this to be very factual, right? The network did go down. There was a bug, and the DDoS attack has happened. Those are three things that have happened to Solana this year, right? And it's important that we do know what they are, specifically if we're invested in them. Ultimately, I am out. I'm not getting back in. Chris is looking to get out if he hasn't done so already. And obviously, I will leave it as I'm not a financial advisor. Chris is not a financial advisor. Do your own research. Dig deep and see what you come up with. Guys, I'm going to leave the video there. If you have found it useful and informative, hit the like button. Really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.